Hey, I'm Colin Mattson.
And I'm Tony Benjamin from Forced Entry. And
You're listening to KFMP Misery Point Radio.
Metal.
Guys, welcome back. Thanks for hanging out on Misery Point Radio. Check this out. I am here with two pioneers of the Seattle metal scene, which is, of course, very near and dear to my heart. So please say hello to Colin Mattson, Tony Benjamin's Forced Entry. Guys, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, guys. Great to be on the show.
What's up, Mike?
What's up? I don't know. Just doing a show, little things like that.
Right on.
Cool. Well, this is exciting. I'm stoked to have you guys on. This is kind of the Seattle metal scene. I think is kind of in the process of actually a small revitalization. I'm excited about it. There's been a lot of new bands kind of coming back and forth over the years, but my heart and my soul kind of lies back with the heyday of the 80s and 90s, and I just can't escape that time frame. It just always keeps coming back at me, and of course you guys were a part of that, so I guess let's just kind of address the 5 million pound elephant in the room, and here the two of you are together, and there was this set list that popped up on the old Book of Faces with maybe some songs that were going to be performed, and the rumor is Forced Entry might be thinking about doing a little something, so kind of catch us up on what's going on there.
You want to take that, or you want me to say
Go ahead.
first? Well, I'm the one who put the set list on there, but I didn't actually realize it would cause any type of hubbub. I had sent that out to another guitar player, ex-guitar player for a Seattle band, that had, at the time, said he wanted to get together with me and Colin and do it, or he was capable of doing it. And then he just sort of fell off the face of the earth. But so at that time, we were like dead set on doing this with this other guy that I don't want to mention his name because I'm not sure what happened to him. But in the time with the COVID and all the other stuff, I mean, lots of people it's a trying time, right? So we're certainly setting our sights on doing some reunion stuff. We're not going to try to be 25 years old again, for Christ's sakes, but we're going to do it one way or the other, huh?
Well, and the thing is that, Tony and I have been around the music scene for a long time, so we know a lot of people. And, like Tony said, we're not going to be, a 25-year-old three-piece thrash band up there doing hour-and-a-half sets. But we know a lot of talented guys, and we do some old stuff, we do some new stuff. At this point in our lives, we do whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah.
But the excitement is kind of back. I mean, Tony and I have been talking about this for years. And
reunion of our second record, As Above, So Below.
Yeah, and it just feels right, And Tony's been coming over to my house and hanging out with, some of the guys from Coven and a bunch of other, random Seattle Forced Entry fans /
There you go. That's a good way to explain it. We've had
Yeah.
a lot of guest stars come by and play with Colin and I in the rec room, as it's called here in his studio. Oh, you get a shot of the rec room entrance over there?
There's
Nice.
the rec
Spelled
room.
with a W.
There you go.
Awesome.
And yeah, but we haven't yet cemented the lineup.
Okay.
And we always wanted to be a two guitar player band. We could just never find another guitar player. I was the other guitar player in Forced Entry. For anybody that lives around here that knows, me and Brad Hall played soccer together, and we were the guitar players. But we could never find a bass player that could write the arrangements that I wrote. So eventually, I had to sell my guitar shit and play bass. I think everybody's familiar with that story. But if I could go to a two guitar player band, that'd be awesome, and I'd play bass and sing again. Or we've talked about today about me playing guitar and just having another guy play bass.
Oh.
Because I'm certainly capable of playing the Forced Entry on guitar. Like I mentioned here a little earlier today, 90% of it got written by me. Like I would bake the cake, and then I'd let Brad put the frosting on it. Our guitar player Brad, would mainly do the solo stuff, but it's not like the rhythms or the arrangements. Those are all written by me and Colin.
Yeah.
So we had sort of a process where we would do that. Hopefully, it's not too long-winded of an answer. So we're just looking for somebody ready, willing, and able to create some new music and play some of the old stuff too.
Awesome. So safe to assume, though, that at this point, forced entry being a thing. I don't know if the word again is the proper word, but maybe coming back on the scene. That's a very real thing that is now on the table.
That is happening.
It's happening.
It's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just wouldn't want to make an implication like we were going to try to be what we were 25 years ago, you know?
Sure. Well,
I mean,
fuck, I
we're
wish I
older.
was what I was 25 years ago, but that ain't happening either, so.
We're still physically capable, I believe, but yeah, I just don't. That's the reason why I didn't play all these years myself, because I just think that's a fool's game, you know, to try to be what would I want to say? Just like a career rock star that never was kind of thing. You know, I didn't want to be a 50-year-old has been trying to play my same old shit from 30 years ago. I'd rather create some new music. Now that enough time has passed and I've had other careers and raised families and I've still stayed friends with lots of these people like Colin, now I'm like, let's fucking do this, especially I'm realizing more and more the impact we had on people's lives back then.
I think impact is a great word to use because, you know, it was the Seattle metal scene back in the day. I think when I think about it, I think of you, of course. I think of, you know, Panic, of Bitter End, of The Accused, of Sanctuary, of Queensryche, of just so many TKO, you know.
All of those dudes you mentioned and us hung out like pretty much every weekend.
Oh, yeah.
We would all hang out and party.
Hey, totally fucking rabbit hole here, but I always said if I got a chance to talk to you, and maybe if I ever get a chance to talk to Blaine down the road. Okay, so how familiar are you guys with Kitsap County?
Fairly, yeah.
Okay. When I was a kid, lived in a neighborhood called University Point Circle. And at the top of the circle, the entrance to where you come into this neighborhood, there was this house. And in this house was a constant party, constant music playing, and just a never-ending flow of clearly musicians coming in and out of there. Because, you know, I'd see like drum sets being unloaded, guitars, amps. And at this point, I was just fucking drooling because I'm like, I know there's some awesome people coming through here. And the rumor is that Forced Entry and The Accused came and went throughout that house and were playing parties at this place. Is that a possibility? Does it ring a bell?
Yes.
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 Yeah, Tommy and I were great friends. The guitar player from The Accused.
Uh-huh.
And I certainly remember taking freaking
van trips
and like ferry trips over to play Natasha's, I think in Bremerton.
Yeah.
With The Accused. And I have lots of flyers of us playing with The Accused. But, you know, we were different styles of music, but still from like the same general hood. And we had the same basic attitude of fuck them all, you know, and have a good time doing it.
Yeah, we love playing with The Accused. I mean, they are.
And we were big in doing informal jams too, with all kinds of people.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we just switch the names up a little bit, you know, like you were mentioning about the Puddle of What, but remember, like we had the Dead Drunks.
Yep.
We had the freaking 1,000 Pounds band. You and I were in.
Yeah.
We had Bad Joke.
Bad Joke.
That was some of the guys from Coven, right?
Yeah.
Some of those played with us in Bad Joke.
Yeah.
So we had lots of those kind of bands over the years, so that it wouldn't blow the place up. Otherwise, 5,000 people would show up at this house. So if we put the wrong name on there, it would only get out a little bit who was playing. Like we played with Kim from Soundgarden, or we played with the dudes from Coven or The Accused. You know, we just call ourselves something different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
We'd be like, A Night of Living Death with Bad Joke. And then we go shred this fucking house down.
So that's cool. You guys are confirming what I had always wondered about. So that's that's fucking awesome.
That sounds completely legit.
Possibly, maybe. I mean, I didn't memorize my life, but it sounds right.
Yeah, and speaking of shows, you know, small shows, very unannounced. I remember there was down on Bay Street here in Port Orchard, there was a club called J.A. Michaels, Castaways, and then next to that was the old Bay Street Ale House. And I remember seeing a flyer out there. It was like Forced Entry playing here, and I was just like, holy shit, dude, that place can hold like 12 people. And I didn't hear about it.
Place?
Yeah.
I think I remember that place.
Yeah, it was.
But there was only about 12 people there because it was like the flyer came out the day before or something, and nobody wanted to take that ferry over there.
Yeah.
I remember there was a couple of hardcore fans there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So,
and we play a place like that just for the freaking experience, I think.
Just for shits and giggles.
Well,
and you know, I remember it because I mean I didn't get a chance to go there because you know it was just I heard about it after the fact, but I remember seeing the flyer a couple of days. Like I was like, God damn, it actually happened. That's totally crazy. So many moons later, obviously, 95 came and went, and you guys kind of parted ways for a while, and then there was some kind of got back together and go separate ways again, and then there was a 25th anniversary here just recently, and I just always think about all of those old shows and all that old stuff. And you mentioned Coven, and of course the Babbitts are super huge. I was just admiring how awesome that band still holds up too. So
we grew up a block from each other. Like Dean was one of the very first guys to befriend me when I moved here from New York.
Oh man,
he's like, "Hey, want to go to my house after school?" And we were like 8 or something. And me and Dean Babbitt actually bought our first guitar together. Like we both put in like $15 allowance money to buy this old Lyle, like acoustic electric.
Yeah, Lyle, I love
that.
Still
talk about to this day. Yeah, like a Chuck Berry looking guitar.
Yeah, and I remember Lyle guitars because those necks were like fucking oak trees. They were just so
like
thick.
There's one hanging right behind him right now.
Oh, look at that!
That's a Lyle.
That's nice. That's killer, dude.
Not the one me and Dean
No,
bought.
not the original one.
That one's like bright red. But I remember
that's my wife's dad's.
Walking through the neighborhood, like cradling this guitar, me and Dean, like all the older girls going, "Oh, what do you guys think? You're cool. What are you guys doing with that guitar?" And all this crap. Like amazing. That's we're not even 10 years old yet. I was giving guitar lessons for $1 a song when I was 12.
Oh man, shit! I would have fucking taken that for $1 a lesson.
Yeah, like people would be like, "Hey, can you show me the rhythm to Crazy on You or Rock Steady from UFO?" I'd be like, "Yep, $1."
It cost you $1.
Give me my $1.
Now with the cost of inflation in the Seattle area, that dollar equates to about $475. So just so you guys know.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I mean, I like I said, I still harken back to those days, and kind of hey, Tony. Now that I think about it, did you skateboard to Colin's house to do this? Like what you guys used to do in the studio, just hop on your boards and go to a session on your deck?
Occasionally, a more BMX bike by the time I got to be 17, 18. But,
yeah.
I'd say when me and Colin first became friends, I was probably still riding a skateboard occasionally. And I certainly grew up with a huge half pipe in my yard.
Oh.
And used to shred that thing, vert ramps and stuff, long before X Games.
Yeah.
I rode my BMX bike on the vert ramp. And yeah, my older brother and his friends did a lot of that vert ride and stuff.
Yeah, I seem to recall the stories of for your first recording sessions that you guys all showing up on your skateboards or your BMX bikes, and I was like, that's pretty fucking.
Yeah, no,
Stacy Christensen's.
That weird little studio over there.
Stacy
What the hell is that place called?
SCM.
Oh, SCM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 3 blocks from where we practiced, so we would just ride our bikes and skateboards down there.
Shit. Like Colin wasn't 21 when we first started playing. Remember, you used to sit outside.
Yeah, I couldn't even play in a bar when I was in the band when we first started.
Well, that's
my
funny.
dad had to accompany me, or my mom.
Because Brad and I are a year older than Colin is.
Yeah.
About 8 months, I guess. Or no, you guys have the same birthday.
Yeah.
So I'm 3 months older than you.
But Brad's a year older than me.
Yeah.
1 year exactly. Yeah.
So
anyway.
Listener question then, I guess, from our mutual buddy Charles Sepulveda wants to know, how old were you guys when you recorded Uncertain Future?
I would have been. We started recording it in 88 and released it in 89.
I thought 87. Oh no, it's scratching almost down.
Right.
So 23.
So
Colin would have been 22, right?
No.
No.
Because I graduated, so 18. I would have been 20.
86.
I was 20 and he was 21.
I was 20 in 86. So
Gotcha.
if it was 87, it was 21. But if it was 89,
so you were 22 and I was 21? Something like that.
Yeah,
Early
something
20s.
Like that.
Early 20s. Oh, actually,
but some
I guess.
of those songs were on Thrashing Elvis Down like a year before.
Right.
Then that was also at London Bridge, so it's kind of carried through. We did re-record it.
So yeah, like we recorded some of those songs for a demo a year before they ever made it on Uncertain Future.
That might be why it's a little blurry.
So then I would have been 19 and he would have been 20 when they were originally recorded, and then we remastered it and put it on the album.
Oh, gotcha.
From the demo.
So
yeah.
Oh, actually, I guess as it turns out, that question was from Steve Fournier. That wasn't from Charles. I'm old.
Hi, Steve. Hey, Steve. Oh, hi, Charles.
Hi, Charles.
Nice. Yeah, two friends of yours, and obviously two fans. Hey, speaking of Steve, another rabbit hole. Colin, if I understand this correctly, you were somewhat responsible for kicking Steve's ass up on that stage at that Loverboy show where he got to get up there.
Yeah, that would have been me. Yeah. Let's just say that when Steve and I are standing next to each other, one of us is a lot bigger than the other one. So I picked him up and put him on the stage.
Physically accosted him and made him get up there. Yeah, yeah.
Hang on. So
Can we tell the story for the audience?
I'll do the quick version. So those of you that don't know, it was me and Eric Close from Coven, and Dean Babbitt from Coven, and Steve Fournier, and me, and our significant others. We went and saw Loverboy at the Everett Theater, or the Everett Arena, or whatever. And Mike Reno was really sick, and he came out and did one song, and he blew his voice out.
Oh, there you go.
So then the background singer, who was also Mike Reno's wife, said, hey, she was joking, you know, hey, unless there's somebody out there that knows the music. I turn around and look at Steve, who's an incredible drummer and an incredible singer. And it just so happens that we'd kind of been practicing some Loverboy songs just for funsies. And that's why we were at the concert. So I turn around and look at Steve, and I point at him and I go, you're going up there. And I grabbed him, and we ran down the aisle. I pitched him up there, and he sang with Loverboy like 3 songs.
Yeah.
And he nailed it.
Awesome.
That is literally the storyline for the movie Rockstar, by the way. I mean,
pretty much.
And also Steve, I mean, who we all know is a phenomenal drummer, and then one day he pulls the magic "I'm a fucking singer" out of his ass, and we're like, where did this come from?
What the hell?
Yeah, I've known him for.
I think me and Colin pulled that singer out of our ass thing too, and Brad. Like, we had no idea. We tried out all these singers in high school, like our bar band, or like you know, just high school bands in early days. None of those fuckers could sing anything except for like these high falsetto metal type voices.
Yeah.
Not like cool like Bruce Dickinson, but like super quiet righties think, right? So finally Colin one day was just like, you sing, Tony. I'm like, I can't fucking sing. And he's like, just yell in the mic. You look cool doing it. And I was like, all right. And then I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, you have to do it. And we all just started singing, just winging it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and it works. And I think one of the things that I think stands out really about your guys' vocals, you know, is that it really, you guys have always kind of towed that line with combining technical with melodic, and it works in a way that doesn't work with a lot of other bands. You have a lot of crazy time signatures, lots of cool short choppy staccato stuff, and then it opens back up. And, you know, Tony,
a lot of accelerato and decelerato stuff you usually only see in commercial music.
Yeah.
Not commercial music, but classical music.
Yeah, it's so I always appreciated the fact that Forced Entry had that ability to really have those throaty vocals, but at the same time just kind of take it down a level. So
yeah, well, I think the way Colin explained it to me when he was trying to talk me into singing was like, you know, Mick Jagger can't really sing, and neither can Jimi Hendrix, but you believe it, right? So as long as, and then I just went, yeah. So I guess as long as I don't try to sing out of my range, it'll be okay. I'll just kind of bark and mean it, and I did mean it a lot. Like, there was no acting involved with Forced Entry. I mean, those, you know, sort of like, it's all sort of horror fiction stuff. You know, the stuff we wrote back then, it wasn't necessarily meant to be politicized or anything of that nature, right? But it just kind of worked because we're not trying to sing something we can't sing.
Sure.
Right.
And we always agreed there was no laws to music. So, you know, let's just like make it as fun as we want to make it happen, shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it works. And clearly you guys have made an impact on the industry because, you know, those demo tapes are highly sought after. I see them pop up on eBay from time to time for astronomical amounts of money. In fact, there is on eBay, I believe right now, there is an original long box version of As Above, So Below for like $150, like sealed, unopened. So I see that stuff kind of pop around from time to time. And in fact, another listener, Josh Kennedy, he's like, hey, do you guys have any old demo tapes laying around? And if so, can I have them all? I think that those are really collector's items at this point.
Can I just have them?
Yeah, can I just have them? You know, can you just dish them out? So,
Colin went to refresh himself or something or look for a demo tape. So if you got a question for me, he's coming. Oh, here we go.
Oh, hey, Josh, there you go. Look at all
there
of
you go,
those.
Josh.
Look at those tapes that you can't have.
I'm going to take a picture of that and send it to you, Josh.
No, dude, that's awesome. My buddy Josh, he's a collector of tapes, so he appreciates a good
We
demo.
used to have lots of that stuff laying around, but
yeah.
Over
life
the
goes
years.
on.
Yeah, over the years, things kind of come and go. So, we were chatting kind of before we hopped on here in the sense of now all of a sudden, so you guys have made this announcement and things are happening again. And then finally, your music is available streaming for the first time.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty awesome. What the hell took so long?
I don't think either one of us realized that somebody would care.
Yeah.
Would be the most honest answer, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we just didn't really care.
Our lives are going on, and we're just doing things, and not thinking about I mentioned earlier before we got on the air that I forgot I was even in a band for most of the last 25 years. It's not something that was on the high point of my mind ever. I'm running a business and raising a family. I married my girlfriend from high school, and we bought a house when I was very young, like right about the time that I gave up Forced Entry. But Colin and I have stayed friends, but it's not something we talk about all the time. He's played in other bands. I've definitely done some acoustic things with Colin. You get what I'm getting at, but I just didn't think about that. Well, it became clear to me that people were hungering for this music. I kind of knew one of the reasons why we weren't more popular is because Relativity Records, Combat, never knew what to do with a band that was popular. They never even pressed more than 100,000 copies of our CD. So, when we're touring, if they would have pressed 500,000 copies, I have no doubt in my mind we would have had a gold record.
Mm-hmm.
So, as the 25 years intervened, I just didn't think anybody really gave a fuck. I figured it was on YouTube if somebody wanted to listen to it. But all of a sudden, people started asking me a lot in the last year, and I got frustrated and just did it. Because nobody else was going to do it for me, so to speak. And so I've taken some interest. I think the rest kind of ties into what you're mentioning. Like, not really like we made a formal announcement, hey, Forced Entry's getting back together. Me and Colin have just been talking, going like, hey, it doesn't matter how long it takes, slow and steady. Let's just get something together where we can have some fun with this again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you mentioned, relativity, and that whole, I guess, kind of was ultimately what kind of wound everything down there back in the '95 era, right?
Right on the same time that the Seattle grunge scene exploded, all of a sudden we're calling there on tour, and no one there even knows us.
Yeah.
Like, they fired a bunch of people, the rest of them were high and blow, and they're like, Forced Entry, what? And we're like, yeah, we're out touring right now for our record. And they're like, oh, sorry, we just gave Corrosion of Conformity $30,000 to tour, so no support for you guys, kind of thing. And we're like, what the fuck? They just opened up for us. Like, this is back in the day when frickin' Tool was opening up for us at the Moore Theater back then.
Yeah.
So strange days. And by the time we got out of our record contract, it was kind of just over.
Yep.
It was
Metal was dead at that point,
Brad
pretty
was
much.
full blown, not coming to band practice, just wanting to do bad things that I won't mention, to do with drugs, and then maybe wanted to play our same song list that we played for the last 5 years.
Sure.
Which wasn't something I was interested in. So, I threw down the gauntlet, said this is my last show, and never looked back, really.
And yeah, that was it. I mean, the idea that that label is kind of Combat in and of itself is a fairly reputable label, but Relativity didn't seem to have the same the same organizational structure, the same support for their artists.
So it's supposed to be the better of the two. Like, Relativity was supposed to be the parent company of Combat, I think, at the time. But the most popular act they ever had was Steve Vai. And I mean, I want to be careful the way I word this, but the facts don't change. Like the summer of '91, any town would play where we'd get to see the heavy metal stations playlist or things like that. Only the Black Album was above Forced Entry as far as airplay goes. I mean, and we were in many, every major city in the U.S., from Chicago to New York, Tampa, San Antonio, Dallas, Fort Worth, whatever to say, Columbus, anywhere. We'd do these in-stores. Thousands of people would come to get us to sign their stuff. No CDs, no cassettes, nothing. With people like, well, where can we get your CD? And I mean, that's incredibly frustrating to be in a band that's young. We're in our early 20s and wanting to move the world, and there's no way to get our record.
Yeah.
And you call the label every day, and then nobody answers. Nobody knows who you are. We had the same management as Sepultura at the time. So, we had the same management company, and she's blowing them up every day, Gloria Bujanowski, trying to get our record repressed, or our CD, rather, But, yeah, it was an uphill battle. And so I lobbied to get us dropped from our record contract. But by the time we did, it was kind of just over. Nobody was interested in signing any metal band.
Yeah.
It was like Nirvana had happened and Soundgarden.
Yeah, and even like Sanctuary right around that same time, same thing. I mean, they were feeling pressure to try to morph their sound into more of the quote unquote Seattle sound, and then that was just disastrous.
It was a more polished sort of like classic heavy metal, hairband style metal.
Yeah.
You know, but they eventually, morphed to a little more metal-y sounding, like a little more thrash metal after that.
Yeah. So it's just it's crazy, and there was
Crazy world, my friend.
and I don't
It
know
was
if
a weird time, you know. It was
yeah
like we it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like we went from playing it happened so fast. I mean, literally went from playing, you know, warehouse parties, you know, the band Saber, we're playing in their garage. It went from, you know, Covens at the Grange Hall. We're playing at this little concert theater in Lake City, Washington. And then all of a sudden it's like boom, boom, everything got big, 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 big. But then it never exploded nationally because of the record label.
yeah
Yeah,
Because you
that's
can't
really
sell
summarized
records
it.
if they don't make
If
records.
they don't exist, how are you going to sell records?
So
So yeah, and we purposely signed on an independent because we didn't want to start at the top. Like Columbia Records flew me to LA, or me and Colin to LA, took us to Disneyland, and I actually said no to their recording contract. Which now I'm like, what the fuck are you thinking, bro? But I mean, yeah, we're on Headbangers Ball on MTV every other weekend, things like that, you know, and we're blowing up. And no CDs, can't buy our CD.
yeah it's actually funny that you mentioned that, because that was actually Josh had also wanted me to ask you guys about that. He had clearly the word was out there that you had turned down other contracts in order to go with Combat Relativity.
MCA and Chrysalis, geez, almost 6 or 7 big record companies flew up to Seattle and coveted our band, so to speak. You know, we needed showcases, but I wanted to go to an independent, just like Metallica or Megadeth or any of my heroes did, and then go from there to a major once we were worth something to a major, rather than take the developmental artist deal at a major and then maybe get thrown off or get kicked, and then no independent will pick you up maybe. So it seemed like the right course, because that's the course that other bands of our type had taken.
Yeah.
You know, and of course we're talking a time before Pantera was Pantera, things like that. You know, at that time Pantera was hair.
They were hair metal, yeah.
Playing just like regular metal. They end up playing like 4th Century style music, of course. Everybody knows that, and they're an awesome band. But at the time we were doing this stuff in '87, you know, that stuff wasn't around, right?
Yeah.
And we were trying to just do a new form of progressive thrash metal.
Yeah. Yep. And you know,
original.
when I listen to like The Shore, for instance, I mean, clearly the format was taking a little bit more of a progressive approach to it. Is a little bit, we'll say, less raw, for instance, than Uncertain for sure. But then there was a kind of a different style as well. I mean, it still had the signature sounds, and you know
there's a bunch lacking on that thing, and there's a story to that too. And it all has to do with our good old guitar player Brad Hall.
Well, let's tell the story.
Well, like the album's only half produced. You know, we only got half of it done. So those songs that I wrote, he didn't really add in his stuff like normally, and he also wasn't there to help me with the vocals. Like usually, he's got a better ear for like, are you singing slightly off key, or to do the backup harmonies to me. So a bunch of those things, the production just suffers horribly on that album, The Shore. Those songs are so much better than they are on that recording. It makes me sick to my stomach when I think about it.
So you're not happy with that product?
That sounds more like a demo that we would have done way before. Yeah. Those songs were great songs, like the song Miasma. Just, I mean, if you, the live seeing that song, it'd be like the best song we ever wrote. On the recording, it just doesn't come across right.
It was incomplete.
Was garbage. It's incomplete. It didn't get mastered properly. None of that stuff. I'm surprised it ever even got out there.
So
I guess what I wanted.
I guess that leads to the question then is, you know, was there other material that was written that just didn't get recorded, stuff that got left on the chopping block?
About that on the back porch before we went on with you. Yeah, there's lots of songs I wrote and Colin wrote with me, and things from before and after those records and during that we never really polished up, you know, but yeah, there's a lot of material that isn't recorded. And so we've discussed things like, okay, if it takes us a while to get a guitar player doing some newer stuff, we were thinking about maybe putting out a live record. You know, we've got some great live recordings that you kick around from us playing in Chicago and in New York and things like that actually, I'm amazed. I forgot how fucking tight we were when we played live. I'm like, damn, this sounds better than our album almost, and a couple of things I've heard. But I'm not sure what people can do with those recordings with the technology nowadays. So we're just exploring those ideas a little as we speak.
Yeah. Yep. So
I'd love to put out a live record.
Yeah, live records. I wish more people did live records, because I'm a huge fan of live shows, and I think especially right now. I mean, you look at all with COVID, and especially people that are fans of music, you can't get out there and play. What's going to be the next best thing? It's going to be having that live experience, and I'm surprised that we're not seeing more live records or just people just releasing more shit about live shows right now.
There's some people, Mike, that are doing like they're just sort of mic up and video camera up their band room and play live that way.
Sure.
Yeah. It'd be like a podcast sort of.
A lot of live streaming going on.
But I just mean like some of the songs that we covered, for instance, that all of our fans had a great time with, and some of those unrecorded songs you mentioned. there's recordings of those, but I'm not sure what kind of recording quality they are off. Like one of our friends from KCMU here, Jeff Gilbert, the writer for Playboy magazine and a bunch of other famous publications, wrote for the Rocket. He would always carry this big suitcase, sort of reel-to-reel thing under his arm. And I can see in the pictures of us playing Mural Amphitheater back in the day at Seattle Center that he has that. Where are those recordings now would be an example.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing lots of people doing recording and video recordings and things at other places. And I've seen some stuff on YouTube, where it's obviously a VHS recording or something. But I think with the technology is nowadays, a good engineer can clean that stuff up and probably do something with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's funny you mentioned the Mural Amphitheater because I saw you guys with Panic there back in the day. Yeah, that was awesome. I think I was maybe 16 or 17 or 18 or something at the time. But that whole area, it doesn't even look the same anymore. So it's
really,
yeah.
Like I haven't been down there in quite a while.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But I guess I always thought about that. I listened to The Shore, and I was like, it seems like from a fan perspective that maybe something just wasn't finished, and you've just confirmed that. In fact,
you nailed it. That's why it sounds so stupid like that.
So why was it released? Did you get pressure to just get something out?
Fucking garbage, Brad.
Oh, really?
We didn't really want Tony and I didn't want to.
And I didn't want to call it Forced Entry either. I wanted to finish.
We actually recorded it under another name, and we were going to release it under the band name Bullneck.
I was going to get us another record deal for somebody else, but I didn't want to ride the coattails of Forced Entry because grunge happens like it was kind of the death of metal for a while. Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Motley Crue, Forced Entry, like any of these two name type bands that just sounded like that style. People who didn't want to touch it, like they are people at record labels, right? So I was like, let's just record some of our new songs under any other name, and I'll bet you dollars and times I get us a record deal. And I would have. I'm pretty good at that self-promotion type stuff. I got us the record deals the first time around by setting my mind to it. And I wanted to believe that, hey, he's my friend. He's got my best interest in mind, and maybe he is right. Let's go ahead then. So I sort of conceded, and it was a mistake.
Got it. Yeah, no, it's an interesting dynamic,
He could with it, but he didn't do anything with it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, for what it's worth, the songs, people that are fans of the band can still recognize that, it's still a Forced Entry song, and it's still that there's still the composition element behind it, and there's still quality songs. Maybe the recording isn't as good as you like it.
Yeah, you get what I mean, though, but it's not produced.
Right.
And the arrangements, and there's enough little off times. If people don't necessarily know what they're listening to, but I do, and I know, to make things sound like other songs sounded, there has to be continuity to the whole thing. There can't be stopping and starting. And some of those things, if I would have been able to work with Brad like I usually did, like I explained earlier, like I'd bake the cake, he'd help me put the frosting on it. We might have pushed and pulled a few pieces out. Like, this rhythm doesn't really relate to this. What do you think about this, Tony? I'd be like, oh, maybe do that. Or Colin would do that a lot with me too. Or I'd change around some of Colin's drum parts to make it sound more fluid. And you see how there's just a lot of, almost like improvised sounding rhythms. Some of those songs have like 40 rhythms in one song. Whereas like the song, is it Slidey on there? It's called Soul Train. We used to call
Soul Train.
That Soul Train song, that's only like 3 rhythms. That's a great song, but it's not recorded great. So it doesn't come across. A couple of those other ones, like Licking My Wounds, it's got like a bajillion rhythms in it.
Yeah.
Right? Is that the right one? I think
so, yeah.
I haven't listened to it forever.
Yeah. Well, now I know why. So, you mentioned. No, I totally get it. I still think it's a thing. It's part of history now. Clearly it still has the level of people that want to support it and be behind it. And at the end of the day, it was kind of the last thing.
Fucking bullshit, man.
Oh man,
burn it.
It's.
I think if we did our thing we're talking about, I wouldn't mind re-recording my asthma. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So the question has been posed. I don't know if you guys still have like the masters for that, or if you still have access.
We have the masters for everything.
Okay, cool. So you've retained all of your own material then.
Yep.
Yeah. Does Combat or Relativity own any of your stuff? Have any rights to any of it?
No.
Nope.
Awesome.
I mean, if they do, I have no freaking idea. We always retain the rights, like our copyright, and we registered everything properly with ASCAP and stuff, the Association of Songwriters and Producers, whatever, authors and producers, that stuff, and all that type of stuff. And I think there was a term, you know what I mean? It was like 7 years or 7 albums or whatever comes first, something of that nature, and that's forever ago.
Sure.
So I can't imagine them winning any type of legal dispute on that. Brad somehow relicensed our stuff without us signing anything. released in Europe. That sort of like where they put together Uncertain Future with The Shore.
Yeah.
But the reason why they couldn't do As Above, So Below was because, again, I had the rights, and Brad's not going to ask me to do that.
Right.
He was like, oh, yeah, I freaking re-released our shit with Sony. They're going to do something in Europe with it. And we're like, what the fuck in the hell is that?
We didn't even know anything about it because we didn't want The Shore put on the same piece of vinyl, or I mean, the same CD with Uncertain Future. They do not go together.
Not very well. They're distanced by multiple years of time,
and stylistically,
anyway.
for
so
sure.
That's kind of what happened with that. And when me and Colin asked, like, well, how did you do that or whatever? Or, were you going to get any money out of it at all? And he's like, oh, you and Colin don't need money. You both have your own businesses. Like somebody gave us our business, which is retarded too. We work for everything we got. We're both poor kids from Terrace. I mean, it's not like somebody's freaking, oh, here, have a business, son. Did he get the picture?
Oh yeah, trust me. You've painted quite the vivid picture. Yeah, that's crazy that he would just relicense that and not even tell you about it. But
not until after the fact. He certainly didn't ask our permission.
Yeah.
I think he just agreed to let him. Is that the way you remember it? That's all I remember.
I don't know how it happened.
I don't know how it happened either. I just know it did, and it wasn't anything we signed or heard about until it was after the fact done.
Yeah. Well, that being said, you've got that material plus others that didn't, make it onto the or they just stayed on the cutting room floor, I guess. So
I think there was 6 songs.
And Mike, keep in mind, like there was 6 songs for The Shore, but of all the songs that made it onto the albums, there's another 10 parts that never got arranged into it.
Right.
So there's chunks of songs that just never got completed that me and Tony could probably play right now today if we wanted to, just from memory. Sure. But there's so much content that never got put into the pie because we were prolific writers. I mean, we would write 100 parts for one song and then just cherry pick the best parts and sequence them together.
Like I always really respected that about Tony Iommi and shit. How he's the total riff master. He'd have enough riffs in one Black Sabbath song to do 10 songs from somebody simpler, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of like Colin said. I'd try to write a whole bunch of rhythms that were all related to a certain theme, and then we'd throw out what didn't look like House or whatever thing you want to do. Cut out what don't look like House if you're building one.
Yeah.
Just so like Colin's alluding to there's a lot of material and songs we didn't put on our first demos that we've thought about, okay, what do we do first? And so that might be where we go first is release some of the unreleased material from back in the day and then write some new ones. Or do a live record in the interim, see if we can get some interest. I right away had quite a bit of interest from people wanting to bid for the recording project, producers and labels, and people have sent me lots of messaging and things like that, saying like, hey, I just want to put it out there. I can see where this is going. I want to bid for the project for either producing it or putting it out on my record label and stuff like that. And I don't want to insult anyone, but I haven't taken time to really weed through any of that correspondence.
Sure.
To tell you the truth.
Well,
I figured wait and figure out for sure who was going to play guitar with us, or if I was going to have to go buy a guitar or what.
Yeah, no. I guess that's the thing is, so, you guys you're back, you're doing stuff. You've got old material. I'm sure that, like you said, you're prolific. You're writing stuff all the time. Theoretically, so we could see a new Forced Entry release officially sometime in the future.
Yeah.
It's
a possibility.
That's definitely.
Well, Mike, everything's on the table right now.
Yeah.
The most important thing, I mean, it's fun that Tony and I were in a band together 30 years ago and people admire or, people like the music and we made an impact. But the most important thing really now is that we just want to do stuff together.
Yeah.
And have it be, semi-polished. Like I don't want to release something worse than what I released back then, but I don't want to allude to trying to match the things I did when I was 25 years old either. But I think I still have a lot to say, and I think Colin does as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we certainly have, things that would be worthwhile. That's not going to be a cookie cutter version of some other bands.
Sure. With people doing a lot of their own recordings and kind of their own production, is that something you guys might consider yourselves is just doing the recordings with your stuff or your friends' studios and just taking it somewhere else to have it mixed and mastered?
For demo or songwriting purposes, sure. But I don't think I'd want to do that and release it that way, no.
Yeah.
I'd want to have somebody that's much better than me, an outside ear to produce it. Because that's what gives these production values the right way. Like I could certainly produce, but not in the way that an outside ear is going to do it. So like working with the guys from London Bridge really helped on Thrashing Helpless Down and on Uncertain Future. unfortunately, I think Rick has passed away now, no longer with us.
They're not there anymore.
Is London Bridge still there? Anyway,
Yeah, London Bridge
I
still
think
there.
for what you said, to have a shorter answer, yes, we would probably do some home recording stuff. Colin is a producer he works with right now, and he has some basic recording equipment here where we practice. But I think I'd want to do a real record.
Yeah.
You know, have a producer produce it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And
If
not
I could, unless we gives a rat's ass, and then I guess we'd do it ourselves.
well, I
Put
have
our
no
money
doubt.
into it then.
I have no doubt that there's some people out there that definitely give more than a rat's ass that would like to see that happen for sure.
The dude, what's the guy from Megadeth's name's Ellsworth? Is it Dave Ellsworth?
Dave Ellison.
Ellison.
Yeah.
Ellison. He's reached out to me recently wanting to be involved with the project.
Okay.
Him and another friend of his, they're down in Florida. And had thrown it out there like, if you guys are going to do this, man, you know, we'll do this. Or, you know, they either have a label or some abilities down there where they're at. But again, I didn't like weed through all that, so I don't necessarily want to, you know.
Yeah.
I couldn't quote it verbatim exactly what it said. A lot of people have reached out to me in the last couple of months since I let that slip about the song list. And me and Colin started having a little bit of chatter and putting our own pictures on Facebook and stuff.
Yeah, Ellison's he's doing a lot of stuff with his label. In fact, he worked with Jeff Duncan from Armored Saint.
Okay, so I'm saying right then. He does have a label, yeah.
He does,
So that's
yeah.
one of the guys that right away reached out to me and said, hey, if Fourth Century's doing this, I want to be the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's legit. His stuff is really cool. So he's definitely moved
Cool.
kind of
Well,
different.
good. Okay. Well, maybe we'll try to go up that route. I think it was left pretty open ended, like just hey, give me a call, you know, when you're ready to start doing something, kind of thing. And we've been him and Han over the holiday. We thought another guitar player was really going to do this with us, and we don't know what happened to him.
We're just not sure.
We don't know if it's COVID. We don't know if just like he was all excited and trading messages with Colin, and then just nothing. Just kind of went dark on us the last month or so. So
Oh shit.
We'll see.
We'll see.
I personally was like, how the hell is he going to do this? And Colin's like, he can do this.
So needless
Oh,
to say
that
though,
dog.
whoever that guitarist is, it's not going to be Brad.
No.
No, I couldn't struggle
At
through
this
that.
at this point, no. Okay, so I guess we could talk about that other guitar player since he just texted me like 5 seconds ago.
Well,
Yeah,
how's
we
that
just
for
got, like,
fucking
10
timing?
texts from him. What's that?
Said, how's that for timing?
That's good timing.
It was good timing for him. So his name's Russ Sovanovich, and he used to be the lead guitarist for Bitter End with Matt Fox.
Okay.
You know, now Matt, childhood friend of mine, he'd tried out for Fourth Century a time or two,
Mhm.
and just can't play the rhythm stuff that I play. But Russ seems to think he can.
So that was our initial plan, was just to start this kind of rolling with Russ.
And Colin would do it, you know, and I'd play bass and sing, and Colin would play drums and sing, and Russ would play guitar, or we'd all sing if we wanted to, you know.
Yeah.
Backup stuff or switch off or whatever. Yeah, and do a fairly progressive.
That's funny.
That's not Russ.
That's
That's not Russ.
awesome. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so
I
there's
like the fact
name
that
drop. He just wouldn't say anything in case he, you know, got the COVID or something was dying on us, or who knew? He hasn't said anything for a month.
yeah, and he just coincidentally messaged you, or were you like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
I'm
No,
serious.
he
He
just
just
did.
did right this second. He's not. He's obviously not watching this. This isn't live.
This is not live. No, that's crazy. I like
Yeah,
the fact that
so that's what
this
we were
is
trying to do.
a tie-in still,
Sorry.
you know, to Bitter End then, which is great because, you know, you're keeping it back in that, you know, Seattle area, you know, kind
Yeah,
of time zone.
I would like to. My bit is I wanted Dean from Coven, who's a childhood friend of mine I've talked to this week, and Colin plays it. I want Dean and Russ to both play guitar for the new Fourth Century lineup. That's what I'm hoping will happen.
Yeah.
And then we'll write new songs and, you know, do a few of our old ones, but write a few new ones and kick ass.
No pressure, Dean. Just saying.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude, he's
capable.
called Dean the Machine for a frickin' reason.
Dude knows every song known to mankind. Like,
He is beyond human jukebox of any
yeah,
sort
there you
of
go,
the
human
imagination.
jukebox. And also very, very easygoing. Like we grew up a block apart from each other.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I like the idea that, I mean, obviously if Russ is your guy and that works out, then fantastic. But, you know, you guys have just a wealth of contacts and friends and people that you grew up with.
Yeah, well, actually, do you remember Jeff Loomis from Sanctuary?
Quite well.
Jeff Loomis. Well, he just texted me like right before we started your thing too, saying let's fucking jam,
Fuck.
blah blah blah. And he tried out for Fourth Century once too, like in Sanctuary times. He was like, "Oh, I hear you try." Same thing. I mean, he's like, he really couldn't play the stuff that I play,
Yeah.
which sounds kind of abhorrent. Like, but It's not that easy to play that stuff. The rhythms for our songs are hard.
Yeah, they're pretty
I mean, everybody can
complex.
play Word X, and everybody can play the beginning of Anaconda, but some of the other stuff, I don't know why it's so difficult for some people. Just the time signatures and stuff, I guess.
Yeah, well, your signatures switch like at the drop of a dime. I mean, so it's
Yeah,
just
for sure.
boom, boom, boom. You know, that's
Well,
funny though.
and I took a lot of pride in fucking people up. Like most of the stuff we wrote was for the three guys in back like this, right there, and the other local bands, and not really for the fans. Whereas now, I mean, we're going to leave that all out, I believe, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to fuck anybody's ears up anymore. So we're going to try to write a little simpler of an arrangement.
Yeah, well,
So who knows? Loomis might be in the mix too.
dude, it'd be killer to have like a Loomis, guest solo or a guest spot or something like that.
Oh, we've been talking about that a lot.
Yeah, we all talked about that today and last month. Like, there doesn't need to be any laws to this stuff. We can just have kind of a, every nowadays with the R&B stuff, it's always this song featuring so and so.
Hell yeah.
That song featuring so and so. So there's no reason to believe me and Colin couldn't just be sort of the basis for it and have a lot of different guest guitar players play with us.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's awesome.
We're just kind of the engine that drives the thing,
Mm-hmm.
So we lay down a pretty solid rhythm together.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that people would love to hear that too. I mean, not only are you coming back, but you're bringing some friends with you, and I think
sure.
there's a lot of bands in this area that would love to be involved in not only their own stuff, but to get a chance to kind of bring back, not only relive the past, but kind of bring it back to the modern time. I think that's
Shredathon.
Shredathon would be cool. You mentioned Headbangers Ball, and I was feeling nostalgic over the last couple of days, and I was watching like the videos for Macrocosm and Never the No, and I was just feeling like, oh man, we really need to get some of this stuff just kind of back. That whole heyday.
Dead guys in those videos, right? Because there's a lot of guest stars in those videos that are no longer with us. I guess I shouldn't joke about the dead, but
yeah, no, I feel it. It's that
like
whole
a couple of a couple of the guys from Ellison Chains, right, are in the Never Know that are no longer with us, and there's quite a few people in the other one too that are no longer with us.
yeah. It's
time goes on.
Yeah, it's just it's unfortunate. But I see that stuff and I just go, it just makes me really, really nostalgic for that time.
Yeah, totally.
Now that we're saying it out loud, I'm kind of feeling that way too. Going, this is actually a pretty cool idea, I guess, to have like not to have any strangers playing, but having other guys for other metal groups aren't together, sort of reforming a group with us, with me and Colin.
Yeah.
Because like I said, that'd be the strong suit of the band. Is I don't really think I thought about these terms back then, but that Colin and I playing together, like me, the bass and the drums together, we have a kind of a unique signature, right? We have a pretty unique machine. Like it sounds like a motor going. Like when I get going, the way I play pick sometimes and fingers sometimes, and the way Colin hits his drums, like we could lay down a pretty solid rhythm for just about anybody to play guitar over.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll work out.
Yeah, I think it's always when you're on the receiving end of people saying, "Oh, hey, I really like your stuff." It's cool and it's complimentary, and I'm sure it's nice. But at some point, when you realize that, wow, way more fucking people like this than I thought, and maybe people miss us. Maybe now the time is right.
That's kind of what happened here. That's kind of what made me talk to Colin and what we're doing here today and what we've been doing. Yeah, it's exactly how you described it, Mike. Like I started realizing, like, hey, this meant something to a lot of people. And maybe I should remember how it made me feel and see what it means to me now. And when I looked at that, I was like, you know what? I want to fucking do this.
Yeah. It would, and also, in fact, this is a question that Charles had, and a couple other people mentioned it as well. There's rumors of some re-releases, maybe some new pressings on vinyl, specifically for As Above. Is that true? Is that a rumor, or has that been talked about?
I don't know anything about it.
Well, I mean, that is something we have talked about, and we may have,
on vinyl.
On vinyl, yeah. So
yeah.
we've talked about remastering, we've talked about reissuing, we've talked about compilations, we've talked about live, we've talked about, maybe pressing a vinyl with demos on it.
Or maybe like a 2-disc set, like re-release As Above, So Below on vinyl, and then re-release or first time release, like an EP of new songs or something on CD or something like that, or maybe a B-side, like. There's a lot of things we could do there, I guess. But first, first things first, we got to decide who the hell's going to play guitar.
Yeah. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but it is cool, the fact that.
But I think what Colin's alluding to is probably worth sort of that soak in. Is I think him and I could release some stuff without doing anything. We have things that have been recorded in the past, like live recordings and things like that, and other songs that we never released. That we can just do that in the meantime to sort of keep a buzz generated about the band, or at least start the ball rolling.
Yeah,
if it took a long time to write the new record or something like that, we were going to do one. You see what I'm saying, Mike? We can maybe in the meantime release some live recordings or something. Might be fun.
Hell yeah, dude. That'd be awesome. You know, we all love re-releases. Of course, we're all... The concept of new material from you guys, I think, is fucking mind-blowing. So whether or not that's truly new material or, you know, visiting the vault and just kind of bringing it back and breathing some new life into it, either way, I think it's created quite a buzz. People are super stoked about it. And obviously we can't play, you know, right now. We can't really do shows of any consequence. But I assume at some point you guys get together, you get some new shit worked out, and then a question that's been posed to me a few times, especially by Alicia Votica, who's a member of also your...
Thrash 'em all till dead, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So Alicia was like, hey, you know, if they do any recordings, you know, is there the possibility of maybe some tours or some shows? I assume that's on the table as well.
Oh, no, I don't know about that, man. We're pretty old to be touring around flirting with the girlies.
Could do some local shows, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of just kidding. We'll just see what.
I mean, if we played a local show, it would, you know, 90% of the people there we would know on a first name basis. You know, just because of we've made so many connections over the years. It would be a blast. It would be like a, you know, old home week.
Yeah, well,
a reunion.
thankfully, like Colin's alluding to there too. I've used that word like 12 times in this interview. I think alluding to, but yeah, we've stayed friendly with the music industry people in Seattle around as far as we're aware. So yeah, if we played local shows, it'd be like playing a party for our friends. A couple thousand of them.
It's funny when you look at how much the pressure comes off when you just consider doing shit for your friends. People ask me that all the time, you know, about like, I do lots of interviews and talk to a lot of people, and people say like, oh my God, do you get nervous or this or that? I go, dude, it's a conversation with friends. That's how I treat it. And it's the same with, you know, playing shows for your friends. It's the fucking best, because it changes the whole dynamic.
No pressure, like you said.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. And you know, all the clubs are different now, though. So none of those clubs that were around back in the heyday are there anymore. Ballard Firehouse and Off Ramp and Natasha's.
The
sadly,
Off Ramp and Rock Candy were our favorites.
Oh,
for sure.
Rock Candy, yeah.
Rock Candy.
The Off Ramp paid me so well. I mean, anytime they would have a national act cancel, they'd call us out. They'd call us up. Hey, can you guys do this in pinch hit? We need somebody. We need a headliner. And for a while, man, like, and I think that was pre us being recording artists, right? Or around that time. But we'd get like half the door. And for us kids, I mean, that was so much money to be a three-piece band. And they sell tickets for $10. 1,000 people come in, $10,000, right? And we get like half.
Yeah.
So that's like $1,500 or $1,600, $2,000 each.
Shit.
Something like that shit. It's enough for me to play Huckleberry Finn for a whole month. Like not have to work and just go fishing the whole time.
Yeah.
Come back for band practice a few times there. We go up backpacking again. I used to call that, Huck Finn in it.
Yeah, that's epic. Those days are
place, right?
Those days are long gone, you know, for that anymore. I mean, shit. Artists even getting a good cut at the door is so rare, even when you bring them in these days with the way
they were so good to us because, like I said, they would get all the drinks, and the other bands that played, they got the money from them. But you know, to have a band like us, they could sell it out every time.
Yeah.
Every time we played there, we'd sell out. There's no more people getting in, or a lot of times they'd have to book us 2 nights in a row. You know, so there wasn't like a riot out in the street.
Yeah.
But that was great because they took really good care of us, right? You remember those days?
Oh yeah.
Like that was a lot of the fun part of it.
Yeah.
And the Rock Candy, of course, just right down the alleyway there.
Yeah, man, Rock Candy was so cool. All those clubs, you know, Seattle Underground, the Phoenix Underground, all those places.
Yeah, we played there with Man-O-War.
Oh, Man-O-War. Yeah.
Yeah, with all their furry boots and stuff. Real men play on 10. They got the big hairy chests. We felt like girls compared to those guys because I don't think we were 21 when we played with them.
Yeah. Yeah,
and they were all just these big Italian guys with gnarly hairy chests and like freaking swords and stuff.
Yeah. Hey, before I forget, we're talking about old stuff. Somebody had just mentioned, hey, make sure you ask them about this. Let's talk about the lame list real quick. Speaking of old Seattle, you know, so Almost Live obviously was a thing, and I was a huge fan of that. And surprised one day when I'm tuned into it, and there you are on the fucking lame list. That just blew my mind. Tell me about that real quick.
What do you want to know about it? I just did maybe 5 years ago, me and Kim from Soundgarden, who was also the Lame List, and John Keister from Almost Live, did our comedy act, like some real stand-up stuff at Giggles, a comedy club here in Seattle, just like 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
Set that up. The original.
The one that we just did, Keister called me and said, "You want to do this?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll do it if you do it." And believe it, the coolest thing for me was there was way more people that were like, "Hey, that's Tony Benjamin's. That's Tony Benjamin's." You could hear whispering in the crowd.
Yeah.
And nobody was going, "Isn't that John Keister or Kim Thale?" And I was going, suckers. These people recognize me more than you. We were teasing each other. And Jeff Gilbert was always kind of a go-between for all of us from KCMU.
Yeah.
And he's one of the Lame Listers. So I think basically they just wrote some skits and wanted some gnarly, long-haired looking dudes and asked us to do it. And there you go.
And there it was. Just.
But the cool part about that is that when you're on Almost Live, that means you get to go to the cast Christmas party at the end of the year. That was fun.
You like flirt with Mimi Jung and shit, you know.
What? Man.
What?
Is Almost Live even? Is it still a thing? I mean, even at all? Is it?
It's never gone off
Comedy Central
repeat.
And stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's all. I mean, if you turn on the TV, I mean, every week it's still on at like 1:30 in the morning. They never stop playing it.
Yeah, and so of course it's on YouTube for all to see all the time.
Yeah. I think that iconic Seattle imagery and just hearkening back to those days. I mean, Almost Live was. I mean, that was the staple. That was like walking into a store and picking up a copy of The Rocket, you know, or something like that. You know, going to
watch it every week.
Yeah, exactly. Going down to Experience and picking up some Doc Martens or some fucking leather pants or something, or you know, walking down, you know, Alaskan Way and on the waterfront and just.
Did that answer good enough for Mike? How it came about?
Yeah.
It was kind of sweet, and it turned into a real fun thing to do.
Yeah, lame.
lame.
So fucking cool.
Ended up being kind of a cult classic, I guess.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
One that's not as popular that it was really fun to do was we also did a skit, or I did it with Keister and a couple of those guys called Practical Applications for Headbanging. And that was on a couple of their Christmas specials. Like the one that I remember the best was like, you know, it came across Practical Applications for Headbanging with like a silly voice. And like I come up to the front door of this party and I'm wearing like my Santa hat and I have like a case of beer in each hand. And I look down at the one hand and look down at the other hand and then go boom, boom, boom and knock on the door with my head, right? Like bang my head. Like just a lot of stupid shit like that. Like Practical Applications for Headbanging. But that one was never as popular as the High Five and White or the Lame List.
High Five and White guys.
Yeah.
Classic Seattle guys. That's cool. So, okay, I've got one more listener question here from you who says, make sure I'm anonymous. I don't want my name out on the radio, but it's,
oh, whatever, bro.
It is it true that Anaconda was written about someone in the band's dick?
Of course not.
No.
I figured that was the answer, but I said I'd ask it. So
we're all from the northern regions of Europe, so we all have tiny dicks, unless we're excited, and then they're fucking huge. But if the girl were not a shower, buddy, I think I have that in common with Colin and Brad.
Wow, that was
like my parents are from Holland, and when you're from Holland and not from Africa, you know, you're not walking around with the Anaconda, man. Unless the girl works at it first, then it's the amazing spinning cobra. Hope that answers the question.
I think that answers the question way more than we actually thought that would get answered.
Right?
TMI, right? So
yeah, way too much.
Way too much. Well, that is on the.
You know, you want to know where I got the idea and how I wrote the song?
Let's do it.
Okay, so when I was in college, they have, if you guys remember, they have these little pulp fiction books that if you turn to one page, it's one ending, and the more choice you make, it comes to a different ending.
The choose your own adventure, yeah.
Remember those? Yeah. So I had one of those, and it was a guy exploring around the jungle. And of course, one of the pages went to these witch doctor dudes that were like, oh, the spirit of the forest, Anaconda. And so in that song where I'm going, Manitoa Guna Mona, that Manitoa Guna Mona was this chant in this book, right, from these witch doctors doing that to get the spirit out of the forest of this big fucking anaconda that came and like killed these motherfuckers, right? And I was like, what a neat idea for a fiction story, right? And so there you go. And that song before that, I'd written that song on guitar and bass, but we had a lame singer before that was like, you know, one of these screamer type guys. And not we wanted. And that was actually called Engulf My Glory.
Right.
And I just rewrote the lyrics and called it Anaconda. So there you go. It kind of started out as a dick song.
Engulf My Glory.
Yes.
I'm going to have to try to work that into conversation.
I don't think think a lot of people knew what an anaconda was in '87 necessarily. That, you know, of course, everybody knows what a reticulated python and anaconda is and everything now. But
Right.
you know, I was just looking for original ideas for like horror fiction, just like Dean R. Koontz or Stephen King or something of that nature. Wasn't trying to get too profound with anything, but it's got a great creepy beat, man.
Yeah, no, it's got that kind of tribal vibe to it in the background. Yeah.
It's got that accelerado at the beginning,
Yeah.
like I was mentioning earlier. You know, that was pretty unique for the time.
That's awesome. I'm sure that. So, what are besides Anaconda? Because I know that's a really popular song. What are the other songs live when you guys play? What do people lose their shit over?
Bludgeon.
Yeah.
And Bone Cracking Fever.
Bone Cracking Fever.
Yeah, both the songs that
People
have to
lose
do
their
with
shit.
violence for some reason.
Yeah,
I don't know why that
Well,
is.
the Bludgeon Strikes one's, of course, got the fourth entry at your back
Yeah.
part, you know, and they're all about fucking standing by yourself, being true to yourself, and, you know, fucking people up there, liars and posers, just like we're dicks. There's
Man.
a lot of that, you know, kind of.
Posers. That was the thing back in the day. Kill the posers. That was the
Yeah.
that was the mantra of any metalhead back then. Is oh, you're a fucking
Oh, yeah.
poser.
Yeah, I just saw some old metal album that the name of it was Die Poser, and the poser guy was wearing a rat shirt on the black and white drawing.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the band was, but
Yeah, that's awesome.
it was one of those band names you can't really remember because both names are super long. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
cannibalistic atrociosities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're all real jaggy letters.
Yep.
where you can't
Yeah.
tell what
I'm pretty big into the death metal, so yeah, it's I'm pretty.
You know exactly what I mean. Some of them are very hard to dissimulate what it's actually saying unless you know the band. But if an outsider guy grabs it, you're just like, what the fuck?
Well, yeah, that's the
But-
mark of a good logo. Is if you can't read it, then you've accomplished what you've set out to
Yeah.
accomplish.
Dude, I think it's horrible because you think about it. I mean, for every death metal band that creates a new logo, like 5,000 deer in nature lose their antlers simultaneously.
Oh, that's probably more black metal than death metal, but yeah, if we're
Yeah.
gonna argue semantics.
Right, lose their antlers, yeah.
Yeah.
Or some of these blackberries get ripped up for all those thorn logos.
That's right.
Well, so here we are then.
Now,
We've put it out there. It's happening. You guys are back. Maybe some new stuff. Maybe some revisiting some old stuff. Got some possibilities of people that you're jamming with. What else do we need to know about Forced Entry in 2021?
that whatever we do put out, it's going to be for real. It's not going to be a joke. I'm
Yep.
not going to make it a foolish thing.
So we're coming back full fucking force.
Yeah, well, you know, that's one reason why I decided not to play when I did play. And just, you know, whatever I do, I don't want it to be a joke. So I hope you know what I mean by that. Like, some people just go, oh, this is all just for fun or something. Sure, I'm going to have fun doing it. Whatever I do with Colin, if it's recorded under that name especially, you know, I'm going to make sure it's unique and as badass as I can make it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be some watered down version bullshit.
Yeah. Colin, you want to add to that?
I think he pretty much put it straight. I mean, like we said, there's no rules, there's no boundaries. I mean, there's no pressure. I mean, it's just
That's
be
true.
true to ourselves and do what we want to do that makes us feel right.
Yeah, or
You know?
we won't do it. We'll just do the live thing or do some other things that maybe are a little more watered down, like record old material. But if I do some new stuff, I'm going to try to make it
It's going to
great.
be brutal.
I'm going to try to make it brutal, and I'm trying to make it great.
It's
I'm going to try to do things I was going to do then that I didn't. Something like that.
it's gonna be brutal. That's words to live by right there. I mean, you guys, Forced Entry, definitely kind of set the stage for brutality in the Seattle metal scene. I would look forward to seeing
Well, thank you.
what you guys do, you know, kind of bringing it back. And, you know, where
Well, did it make sense when I said, Mike, like about being serious
Yeah.
about it? Like some people that never knew I played in the band or something will see it and go, wow, that's pretty funny. And I'm like, it's not funny.
yeah, no, this isn't for shits and grins. This is, hey, we're fucking back and we're doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's, you know, you still have fun when you perform, but there's a difference between that and considering it funny, in my opinion.
Sure.
Without being too profound about it. But I think that would be something that would set me apart, or me and Colin and I apart from some of the other people that have done a similar thing. Like, if you're going to wait that long to make some new music anyway, you know, make it count. And I don't want it to be like, oh, you know, like, oh, they never should have done this.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna take your time doing it. I'm sure we'll hear it when we hear it. There's no pressure, no timelines, but just so everybody knows, this is fucking happening. It's for real. It's serious. It's not a joke. It's not lighthearted. This is full fucking balls to the
It's
wall.
not just a Facebook rumor anymore.
Yeah.
Confirmed, bitches. So,
Yeah, we just agreed that we wouldn't put a time pressure stamp on it, like, hey, if we don't have something released by March, we quit or something.
Yeah.
When me and Colin had our meetings in private, it's been like, let's get some. I'd like to get our full color art shirts for our albums put out, some merchandise, because something people have been asking for years and years and years. We haven't had that, like full as above, so below shirt or uncertain future shirts, shit like that. Get some merchandise going again, and also just take our time and write some good shit.
Fuck yeah. Hell yeah, dude. I think we're ready for it. That's the reality of it. Us old school guys from back in the day, we're ready for it. I think there's a lot of new people that have been introduced to your music, and I think that they're really ready to say, oh wow, these guys have something new to offer to the world.
That has touched me deeply to have people from other countries that reach out to me recently and tell me how much of a difference I made in their life at a certain point. And I hadn't really, I know it sounds naive, but I just hadn't really considered that.
Sure.
Until I started considering doing this again with Colin.
Yeah. Well, guys, congratulations on fucking making this happen, and for having the conversations, and for being willing to explore the possibilities that we can breathe new life into shit that meant a lot to a lot of people. So
I didn't expect it to stay around forever, Mike.
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of shocked 10 years ago when my son was like, this music was sounding just like what I was playing 20 years before. I'm like, there's still thrash metal. He's like, oh yeah, and so. I think that's another thing. If it wasn't still a valid form of music, of course, I don't think we'd be talking about it. It would be like Frank Sinatra's greatest hits kind of thing, right?
Well, I think now is the perfect time, because people have had things taken away from them, and now they're going to come back with a vengeance, and they want some new fucking stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'll buy that for $1.
As with guitar lessons, for sure. So there you have it, guys. Forced Entry coming back. Who the fuck knows when, but it'll be sometime soon. Tony Benjamins, Colin Mattson, thank you so much for hanging out on Misery Point Radio. You guys are fucking awesome, and open door for you. Anytime you want to come on and hang out and talk about some new shit, come on down.
Thanks, Mike. We really appreciate it.
Cool.
Totally.
Now fuck off or I'll kill you.
Yeah, fuck off or I'll kill you.